phone off and go talk to the people. Talk to people. Touch people. Be in people's presence.
Organically.
Yes, exactly. Because once they get on that phone, their mind is gone. And it's already into an area that's not necessarily real.
But you know what this also reminds me of? Plato's allegory of the cave. For those that don't know, well, Google it. Plato's allegory of the cave. But basically how there's a reality that is sold to us. And a lot of us don't move beyond that reality.
Right.
And that whole ecology is
they will fight
constructed through your phone.
Yes, they will fight. You would fight you to the death.
But stuff and that's the funny thing. Like I've heard, I could be somewhat of an asshole. Sometimes.
I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah.
sometimes. Only when people they come with these very strong perspectives. Like this one guy was like, if Trump gets back in office, this is going to be the worst thing that ever happened to our democracy. It's going to be the worst thing that ever happened to black people. And I said and asked him, I was like, okay, so why do you feel that way? And he couldn't even
articulate it.
Yeah, he cannot convey why he felt what he felt. He couldn't connect shit to shit outside of emotion. And
that's true.
And that's dangerous because once we get to a point where we're saying that truth is not objective, that there is no truth.
Right, and that's what we get into. We get into the point. Like I said, the most dangerous part about all this is, like how you said, is that people are believing things that they themselves have not they can't truly understand, and the condition of social media is making so they don't even know that
they don't know.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't know this. So going back to your Pizzagate and going back to your QAnon and things like that.
Oh, talk about QAnon. There's a lot of people who don't know about that. Please elaborate.
So I'm not into this shit, so I'm be honest with you. I just need to learn what it is because you see people talking about it.
Right.
But apparently there's some
child pedophile ring with elites.
Yeah, with the elites.
Harvesting organs.
Which is probably at some level true.
Right.
But the way I kicked it was that, hey man, if you're not involved in these folks, how the hell do you know? You're not dealing with no elite person here. You don't know the handshakes and the colors. No, you don't know this shit. You know what I'm saying? Somebody else is telling you this, and you're gonna have to accept it because it's entertainment to you. So what happens though is that because it deals with something that most people found vile. Pedophilia is vile. You get really, really mad about that type stuff. So they already anchored your emotion onto that. Meaning if you can't say, oh, it's not happening because now you're a pedophile. So it already anchored and they placed blockers on you even saying something like this that doesn't exist or is silly or things like that. And then if you're a person who already involved in this, then you have to also, if you're very against this type of stuff, you have to really be against it. You become militant. And that's the part that what's going on here is people become militant in their ideologies.
Right.
Even from the rest of us, it's like, hey, what's your evidence? Oh, there's this guy called Q who's leaving these breadcrumbs about
oh yeah, you left out the biggest part.
Trump
is the Messiah.
He's the master of
That's
this.
what they say.
He's not a pedophile. He's actually there to stop it or something like that.
Right.
And he says these little sayings or something, and that's supposed to be the, if you're in the know, that's supposed to be the, the triggering points or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And to me, it's nothing but a scavenger hunt, online scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
Is you're trying to find stuff and you're trying to put things together that don't necessarily fit, but because it's part of your role playing, I guess. It has to go forward. And go ahead.
Another thing, because you just my fault. You helped me. You just reminded me of something.
Okay.
The human brain is a universe in itself.
Absolutely.
And there are people that really there are what do you call them? People who do research on the brain. People that literally they do research and they sell this information to corporations. Specifically in context of the social dilemma, they talk about how there's triggering points and how dopamine, you press a like or you swipe, it triggers dopamine in your brain.
Right.
So
and it's superficial dopamine too, because it immediately goes away as soon as you post it.
But it becomes a drug, and it's I guess.
So one of the most important things they said was that there's only two industries that calls their customers users. One is drugs, and the second one, social media. Tell me what that means. That means
I'm a participant, man.
That means you're getting doped up. That means they put some dope in your system. They make you dopey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's not being regulated at all.
At all.
And well, right now, like you said earlier with the fact checking.
Yeah.
So what happens is this: let's say you do a fact check on something, and the fact checker say it's not a fact, and then somebody else comes to find that the fact checker is kind of not right. They're gonna people are so they need perfection. It seems as if there's no nuance today. You can't have any nuance. You can't say, okay, this is the limits
it's
of
all
this.
Or nothing.
Yeah, it's all or nothing, and that's a very dangerous also ideology. Is that you need to have nuance. You need to have limits to where this truth can reside in or whatever, until where you need more information or more sections so that you can add a greater, a more
brings balance to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we're not doing that. And what's going on here, like I said, that's why I had them watch The Social Dilemma, is that it's just going worse and worse. And especially in our community, in the black community, it's getting to the point of pseudo-history, pseudo-science, pseudo-this, pseudo-that. And if you go against it, then you are part of some other shit that they're going to make up that's
faulty.
It's just faulty, and that's why we can't. So I'm going to bring up
Go ahead.
Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said some really good things a few weeks ago or a month ago when he said he wants
Elijah Muhammad or Minister Farrakhan?
Am I going to the wrong? Farrakhan.
Yeah, Elijah Muhammad been dead.
Yeah, I'm tripping. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Shout out to the NOI.
Right, I'm sorry, Farrakhan. I'm so sorry about that. And I'm tripping out with that one. But he said that we need our own scientists, and that we need our own people to check out, let's say, vaccinations and things like that.
Mm-hmm. You disagree with that?
On surface, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Of course, I've been saying that for years. I want to start my own shit up called Black Scientists Unite. I wanted to do that. I've been said that. I said we need to have our own people because our people do not trust the institutions here. Now, the problem I'm seeing,
with much merit.
Yeah, but the problem I'm seeing here, and this is going to be the major problem they're going to have to overcome, and that's why when you got into science, is you start to realize that a lot of the stuff that they believe to be true is extremely false. And it's going to go against their ideology, and the Plato the Cave thing is going to happen.
Right.
Is that once you go against, if you believe that, let's say, that let's go with metaphysics. We have a spirit. I like to believe that. That's a belief. That's not a fact. We don't know. Nobody really knows. It's something you have to believe in. But if I say, it is a fact or something like that, then how do you check that? There's no way to check these things. That's why they don't exist in the so-called Western science. They don't want to talk about spirits because they have no mechanism to talk about it.
Right.
And that's true. You don't. That means you have to be smart in how you talk about these things. But when it goes against your ideology, especially if you're a religious person, you automatically have some friction. And that's what's going to happen here, is that you're going to find out that a lot of things that our healers, that our people in our community say, with your crystals and your oils and your sage and things like that, you're going to find out most of that stuff is either misunderstood or just completely false. And that's going to take a Herculean method to try to get them to understand, hey, man, what you're saying is false. Because to my point of view, it's a religion nowadays.
I'm glad you said that. I'm sorry I had to interject. The thing that, I don't knock anybody's beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm big on freedom of every kind, specifically religious freedom. Mm-hmm. Whatever helps you get through the day and makes you a better person.
Right.
And as a Christian myself, I have a lot of problems with the church. There are a lot of things I think the church has done as an institution that has stymied black growth. Not even just black growth, but just the growth of humanity, period.
That's true, yeah.
But the thing that I hold issue with now is you have people who have left the church and they pretty much traded in Jesus for crystals.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like...
It's exactly what happens. And it's interesting you said it also, is because that's usually is an indicator of I remember people who work out, for example. If you work out, a lot of people who worked out, they were anorexic. They already had body issues. They was always conscious of their body. So they was able to actually go from anorexia to actually, bodybuilding.
Swole.
Yes, because they're already thinking about their bodies. Same thing when it comes to religion, is that, like you said, if you're already thinking about your spirit and spirituality and things like that, and you say, oh, this one is not for me, then you're finding something to fill that up. And usually people find anything that, especially if it's popular, fill it up, and then information, they want to just keep getting information, and then you feel comfortable like a gang. You know, this is my family. We all think this way, therefore we must be right type thing.
Right.
And there's and that's basically the route it goes. And if I know this and I can program this, I can manipulate you easily. And people know this.
Yeah.
People study this.
And even with the early church, they realized that, you know, that specifically the European church, the Catholicism, they realized like a lot of these people cannot read. So we can pretty much wholesale sell them whatever. And I think I want to say that was the roots of the French Revolution. They wanted to counteract the institution of religion, you know, and we wanted to move more towards a fact scientific age as opposed to
now imagine
what
this.
feels good.
And this is what I said. I said this years ago. I said what happened was, and I think this is what happened, is that psychology was never necessarily in the history books, but the people who understood psychology are the ones that took over nations. So
Definitely.
So what I believe is going on in today's manner, it's the same deal, is that you don't have to, you can be as malice as you want, you can be against humanity, whatever it is, but if you can understand humanity and you have a specific goal, you can move people how you want to, you can social engineer people how you want to move people. And that's the same thing in history. That's why we said with the religious books, anchor hell unto somebody. If you do this bad, you're going to hell.
Right.
That person's going to try to do good, or whatever you say is good. They're going to try to. Anchor, oh, you're an idiot or a moron if you think this way, and you're going to not want to be an idiot or moron in modern times. So what they're learning is that how to anchor people of feelings onto ideologies so that you will never go against the ideology.
Right.
That's the game. That's what they do. That's what we're involved with now, is anchoring feelings, not knowledge, not logic, not reason, but not feelings.
Objective reality.
Feelings, so that they can control you. And like I said,
that's dangerous.
It's so dangerous.
And it's there's a lot of tribalism now.
It's so much tribalism because we didn't mention this again. We're going all over the place. But also, what happens with from the social media is they create these echo chambers, meaning that if you believe in one thing and the people around you believe this, they make sure you never see opposing views, that you never see anything that can change, that can alter your perception of whatever you're thinking. Just like how a lot of days now they say, oh, no negative thoughts, only positive thoughts and things like that. It sounds good on the surface, but it's not healthy at all. If somebody goes against you, you have to have problem resolutions. You know, you have to be able to deal with life. Life is not always positive. You have to be able to deal with the negative. You have to deal with people with opposing views, and you also have to keep yourself strong. There's a sense of self that is so fickle nowadays. When it comes to science, people don't know where we're at, how any of this works. It's fickle. If I tell you the Earth is flat and you have no idea how to prove that it's round, maybe it is flat.
Right.
Because your reality is that fickle. And that's what they're basing this off of, is to make sure that your reality is so fickle that you don't know what's going on, so that anybody who looks like they have authority, they can make you believe whatever they want you to believe.
And what you said, it reminded me of a Huey Newton quote. He said, contradiction is the ruling principle of the universe. Things have to be challenged. You know, and that even goes into the Hegelian dialectic, where you have a yin and yang with everything. And if nothing is challenged, there's no growth. Right. If I'm walking around here thinking I'm just the smartest, sharpest, best thing ever,
you would never learn.
I wouldn't grow.
You cannot grow.
So I have to be and I think shout out to my dad. My dad would always say ideas are more dangerous than bullets.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, like, our knowledge base grows when ideas are challenged respectfully. You know, so yeah, I just wanted to put all that out there.
No, that's real. That's super real. That's nothing new. It's actually how man thinks or humankind thinks. You know what I'm saying? Has been debated over the years from the greatest philosophers of the past to today. And we're in part of a reality nowadays that we have to be very careful in what we consume.
More so now than ever.
More so now. We are at an epoch. I haven't even got a chance to talk to this man about the singularities.
We talked about it briefly.
Yeah, briefly one time. You guys not understanding, guys. Look. We're going so fast into technology. Things are coming so quickly that if you don't catch up, which most people are
antiquated.
the people in charge are going to be able to do whatever.
And you put me on game about the technocrats.
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
And I think I was doing some research on the technocrats, and they pretty much feel as though humankind's thought process is infinitely flawed. So we don't need a democracy. We don't need communism. We don't need socialism even. We need a technocracy. We're pretty much, they come up with a metric and a way to measure everything where they pretty much create this algorithm.
Yes.
And humanity becomes regulated. It's kind of like that movie Equilibrium. I don't know if you saw Equilibrium.
Yes, I have seen Equilibrium.
Yeah, how like pretty much there's somebody on the top of society just kind of, regulating it.
Yeah, make sure. Yeah, it's
and
honestly,
that's the death of democracy.
It's the death of humanity. That's what we're talking. I'm not trying to be alarmist, but I sent you a meme the other day. People said, "Oh, they're trying to microchip us." You know what I'm saying? We're going to do this and that. And then Elon Musk came and said, "We want to make a neural link in your brain, so I'm gonna microchip you." And people are like, "Oh, that's amazing." What in the world? So if one person says this is bad, but if another person says this is good, come on, man.
But it's always who's. I think. Okay, for example, and people may disagree with me, but fuck it. Like when Jay-Z came out with 444, people act like, "Oh my gosh, he's so." The social dynamics. There's so much growth. I'm sitting here thinking, Nas was saying this shit back in '93.
Yeah, back in the '90s. Exactly.
You know, so it's almost like people.
Yes.
It depends on who's saying it.
It absolutely. That is so true. That is so true. And once again, us just talking about this type of stuff, we're just trying to explain this to you. Imagine if I had the resources and the means to push an agenda. All I have to do is know this, and you don't have to know this, and I can get your money. And then for a few months, few years, or however long it takes for you to get hip about this. You know what I'm saying? And you already been got.
You remember on the Boondocks, what was his name? Gangstalicious?
Yeah.
And how pretty much with the